Welcome to the Rare History Channel. U.S. presidents who never won a presidential election, a journey through unconventional paths to power. The office of the President of the United States is perhaps the most coveted political position in the world. For most, achieving this feat involves a grueling election campaign, often against fierce competition. However, in the over 2 centuries of American history, there have been instances where individuals ascended to this office without winning a presidential election. Here, we delve into these fascinating stories and the impacts these leaders had on the nation. Number 1. John Tyler, a controversial ascension. In 1841, John Tyler made history by becoming the first U.S. vice president to assume the presidency following the death of a sitting president, William Henry Harrison, who succumbed to pneumonia after serving just a month in office. Tyler's ascension to the presidency was mired in controversy as some politicians argued that the Constitution didn't explicitly state that a vice president becomes president upon the death of the incumbent. Tyler, however, asserted his claim and set a critical precedent for presidential succession. His presidency was characterized by political discord and opposition from both the Whig Party, which he represented, and the Democrats. Despite this, Tyler was instrumental in several critical areas, including the annexation of Texas, and his audacious stand demonstrated the resilience and power of the presidency. Number 2. Millard Fillmore, a presidency defined by a controversial compromise. Millard Fillmore became the 13th U.S. president following the death of President Zachary Taylor in 1850. As vice president, Fillmore assumed the presidency during a period of heightened tensions over the issue of slavery. Fillmore's tenure is best remembered for the controversial Compromise of 1850, a package of 5 bills intended to preserve the delicate balance between free and slave states following the Mexican-American War. The compromise, which included the contentious Fugitive Slave Act, was viewed as a capitulation to Southern slave interests and made him unpopular among many Northerners. Despite the controversy, Fillmore's presidency averted a potential civil war, but his actions did not earn him his party's nomination for the presidency in the next election. Number 3. Andrew Johnson, a presidency marred by impeachment. After the tragic assassination of Abraham Lincoln on April 15, 1865, Vice President Andrew Johnson was thrust into the presidency during one of the most tumultuous times in American history. Johnson, a Southern Democrat from Tennessee, had been chosen by Lincoln as a gesture of national unity amidst the Civil War. However, his presidency proved to be anything but unifying. Johnson's lenient approach towards the defeated Southern states in the aftermath of the Civil War caused consternation. He offered easy terms for their readmission to the Union, essentially preserving the pre-war status quo minus slavery. This leniency was met with a strong backlash from the radical Republicans in Congress, who sought to impose stricter conditions and ensure civil rights for the freed slaves. In addition to this, Johnson's opposition to and vetoing of civil rights legislation escalated tensions between him and Congress. His defiant actions culminated in his violation of the Tenure of Office Act, a law that prohibited the president from dismissing certain officeholders without the Senate's approval. Johnson's dismissal of Secretary of War Edwin M. Stanton led to his impeachment by the House of Representatives in 1868. While Johnson narrowly avoided removal from office, the impeachment trial marked a significant blow to his presidency, considerably weakening his political influence. His term ended with him being the first president to be impeached, setting a precedent in American history. Number 4. Gerald Ford, an unexpected path to the presidency. Gerald Ford's ascension to the presidency was indeed extraordinary, marred by political scandal and national turmoil. Initially, Ford was not in the line of presidential succession. However, the resignation of Vice President Spiro Agnew in 1973, due to charges of tax evasion and money laundering, led President Richard Nixon to appoint Ford as his vice president. In less than a year, the political landscape shifted dramatically with the Watergate scandal, leading Nixon to resign on August 8, 1974. Consequently, Ford was sworn in as the 38th President of the United States, the only person to have assumed the presidency without being elected to either the presidency or vice presidency. Ford's presidency was faced with numerous challenges, including a struggling economy and the contentious end of the Vietnam War. Despite these adversities, his presidency marked several significant events, including the signing of the Helsinki Accords, a major step towards reducing Cold War tensions. He also granted a presidential pardon to Nixon, a controversial move that arguably cost him the 1976 election. Despite the tumultuous circumstances surrounding his ascension, Ford navigated through his presidency with a steadfast commitment to integrity and openness, working towards healing a nation rocked by scandal and war. Number 5. Chester A. Arthur, a presidency of unexpected reform. Chester A. Arthur assumed the presidency following the assassination of President James Garfield in 1881. Known for his affiliation with the spoils system of political patronage, Arthur was not expected to make significant changes. However, he surprised many by championing and signing the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act into law in 1883, a move that aimed to curtail political corruption and introduce merit-based appointments in the civil service. Despite his association with political patronage, Arthur's commitment to reform proved consequential, enhancing the efficiency and integrity of government service. This commitment forms a significant part of his legacy as a president who rose to the challenge despite never being elected to the position. Number 6. Lyndon B. Johnson, sworn in aboard Air Force One. Lyndon B. Johnson's ascendancy to the presidency is unique in its own right. After the shocking assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas on November 22, 1963, Johnson was sworn in as the 36th President of the United States aboard Air Force One. This marked the first and only time a presidential oath has been administered on an airplane. The urgency and necessity of the situation led to this unconventional swearing-in, as the nation was in the throes of uncertainty and distress. Johnson, then vice president, was in Dallas with Kennedy and was rushed to the presidential plane following the tragedy. His term in office saw the advancement of civil rights legislation and the escalation of the Vietnam War. Johnson, known for his war on poverty and Great Society reforms, left a considerable mark on American society and governance. It's important to note that Johnson was the exception among presidents who first came to power through succession rather than election. He successfully won the presidential election in 1964, validating his leadership with the public and serving a full term in his own right from 1965 to 1969.